Good evening, wine lovers, and welcome to SaveSAwine, our evening live stream. And yeah, what a day we had! We had a very exciting day today. But before I go into the announcements and what happened today, I just really need to say a big thank you to our sponsors, the Fishwives Club. The Fishwives Club are still running their 45% off lockdown special. It ends on the 31st of August, or whenever the stock runs out. You get a bottle of Merlot and a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, all for 45% off. So make sure you don't miss out. And a big thank you for the Fishwives Club for making this evening live stream possible. But now let's get on to some important stuff. Today we launched the 60 in 60 campaign. We asked everybody to use the hashtag 60 and 60 in 60. So what we are doing, we are actually going to we're going to take 60 producers and feature each of them in the next 60 days. Um, so this will happen from the 30th of August until the 28th of October. And we're all using the hashtag 1660. And we really, really need your help. You need to follow, you need to share, and if you can, you need to buy South African wine. Um, there's rumors again that of stricter alcohol restrictions, which will be devastating for the industry. But let's just say why we need your help, and here's why we need your help. Due to South Africa's recent nationwide prohibition of alcohol, Vinpro estimated that over 90% of wineries are in trouble. 90% of our wineries are in trouble. The entire wine industry could lose more than 15% of its wineries, 12.6% of the grape growers, and that's more than 18,000 jobs that's in jeopardy over the next 18 months. Wine tourism loss were over 2.5 billion rand between March and July 2020. And even worse, the wine industry is sitting on a 300 million litre surplus with an impending harvest. And this will all add to the challenges the industry will face. We all know that the domestic ban lifted on the 18th of August, but 5 months of damage is done, putting the nail in the coffin for many wine producers. So we really, really need your help. I know lots of people are celebrating, and yes, it is a time for a bit of celebration because we did achieve some success having the prohibition lifted. But ultimately, this is not a time for complacency. And we want every single person that can to take part in the 60 in 60 campaign. In the next 60 days, from the 30th of August to the 28th of October, we're going to feature one producer every single day. And we're going to, take them one by one, feature them, and we want your support. So, talking about support, a huge thank you for all of the 54,000 people in our group that have been doing a sterling job in supporting us and helping us to save the South African wine industry. What we need you to do now is to go onto Instagram, and the Instagram page is instagram.com/savesawine.co.za, and please comment there. I'm going to repeat this. It's instagram.com/savesawine.co.za. We need all of you to comment and like and share every single post that you can. Use these three hashtags: hashtag 60 in 60, hashtag SaveSAwine, and hashtag Drink South African. And it's very, very important that we all stand together and that we do the best that we can for our wine industry that's really in a spot of bother, to put it mildly. Um, there's a few other things happening. On the 1st of September, we have what we call Cap Classic Day, where we are actually going to celebrate the producers of our MCC, our Cape Bubbly. And we want everybody that can to drink some bubbly, use the hashtag Cape Classic Day if you're posting pictures of your MCC. And we are tomorrow and on Wednesday, I'm actually having interviews with 6 of your top MCC producers, and we are going to feature all of them. All those podcasts will be published on the 1st of September, and we're going to have a whole day of celebration. This is in addition to what we're doing for hashtag 60 in 60. So very, very important day, the 1st of September. It's also Spring Day. So if you're buying your loved one a bunch of flowers, why not also add a bottle of bubbly from one of your fantastic producers? If you want to find out who's providing Cap Classic or want to find some, go to bit.ly/findmcc. That is bit.ly/findmcc. And then if I can repeat again, please use this hashtag, the hashtag 1660 campaign. We've got quite a few people commented on your Instagram today. I'm just going to repeat that. It's instagram.com/SaveSAwine.co.za. That's instagram.com/SaveSAwine.co.za. Please leave your comments there. We'd love to have you interact with us. And yep, that's wonderful. Thank you for everyone that's already today taken part in supporting this campaign. Tonight's featured podcast is going to be with Dr. Ido Haynes. He is the Strategic Development and Marketing Manager of Lavenier Estate. Talking about podcasts, I'm doing 6 podcasts in the next 2 days with MCC producers. We need to celebrate our MCC producers. And if you're a producer of any of your wines or a winelands business or a restaurant and you want to be featured on a podcast, please send us an email at visitthewinelands@gmail.com. That's visitthewinelands@gmail.com. A podcast is a fantastic way to get some exposure for your business. And we'll be publishing quite a few podcasts over the next few days. Before I actually go on with tonight's featured podcast, I just want to say one more thank you to our sponsors of this evening, the Fishwives Club. The Fishwives Club have a 45% off lockdown special on a case of Merlot and a case of Sauvignon Blanc. This ends on the 31st of August, and it's an offer that will probably never be repeated. So thank you for the Fishwives Club for supporting us. If you want to get this special, just go to fishwivesclub.gr8.com. And now, without further ado, before I say that, I would like to tell you guys to please log in tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We've got an interesting day tomorrow. More things happening. Our morning show tomorrow morning starts at 8. There's just be a few more interesting announcements, more things happening. I've heard a whisper in my ear that we're going to do something for our import market, something about Belgium, but I can't divulge anything at the moment, but I'll talk about that tomorrow morning. So I'll see you guys then. Everyone have a good evening. But before you go to bed, please listen to our podcast. Podcast is Dr. Ido Haynes. Ido is the Strategic Development and Marketing Manager of Lavenier Estate. He'll be telling us about the history of Lavenier, and he'll also be telling us how Lavenier became, from its history now, developed into an estate that produces fantastic wines. And without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Ido Haynes and listen to the interview that I had with Ido, which was very, very interesting. Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we'll be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, winelands businesses, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for our latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Before we start today's show, I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you to our sponsor of the show, Lisa Loves Wines. Lisa shared with me that she has a very special offer for our listeners today. I'm not sure if our listeners are aware, but magnum-sized bottles are becoming very fashionable in Europe, and I think South Africa will follow suit shortly. So as part of her Biggest Beautiful campaign, Lisa will be offering a discount on 1.5-liter magnums. This is also a great Father's Day gift or a birthday gift. We will leave the details and links on how to get this awesome offer inside the description. Now, on with today's show. Good day, everyone, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today, I'm talking to Edo Haynes. Edo is at Lavenier Wine Estate. Welcome to About the Winelands, Edo.
Thank you very much, Will. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's our pleasure to have you. So tell all our listeners a bit about yourself and what you're doing at Lavenier and how you got involved in the wine industry.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So I studied winemaking and I'm a qualified winemaker. I made wine in Constantia for a while before I decided to sort of spread my proverbial wings in the wine industry by becoming a wine writer. I was a wine writer for Wineland magazine for 10 years and eventually became editor of the publication. And part of my job at Wineland and Vinpro was to engage with the next generation of winemakers. And part of this was to every year take some of the young wine leaders on an overseas trip to a leading wine region. In terms of, or in order to get winemakers to engage with other industry leaders, to learn about the international trade, to perhaps see some winemaking techniques, and to basically come back inspired. And it's now 4 years ago, we went to the Loire Valley. It was a trip where myself and Charles Williams from the Toren, Ati Lowe from Opstal, and Dirk Coetzee, the winemaker at Lavenier, went to the Loire Valley. And when I asked at Vinnie if Dirk can be part of this trip, they said, yes, no problem, it's perfect. But in order for Dirk to go to the Loire Valley, they asked me to present a tasting in Paris for the Advini commercial team. And I did the tasting and it went well, and I was so intrigued by this dynamic organization with a really inspiring and young commercial team at the helm. And when I came back to South Africa, I realized that sort of sparked an interest in me to sort of delve into the commercial side of the wine industry. And that's when I made the switch from being a wine writer to getting into the commercial side of the wine industry and the marketing side of the wine industry. So today I've been at Lavenier for 3 years, and it's been an absolutely wonderful journey.
Wow, that's amazing. So can you tell us a little bit of the history of Lavenier itself?
Of course. So before 1990, when the estate was acquired by Mark Veer and its name was changed to Lavenier, Lavenier was part of a bigger wine estate or wine farm essentially called Weltevrede. And when Mark Veer bought the estate in 1990, he's a Frenchman or a French-speaking Mauritian, and he came to this estate that he fell in love with, but he couldn't pronounce the name. So he said that this estate is his future, and he called it Lavenier, which means the future in French. And that's when Weltevrede got changed to Lavenier. So Weltevrede is one of the oldest wine estates in Stellenbosch, but it never made wine under its own label. And it's only since Mark Veer bought the estate that wine was produced under the name Lavenier. And that started in 1992. And the rest is history. It immediately gained traction in terms of the pinotage. Back then, winemaker Francois Nadir really made a name for himself as the Pope of Pinotage in Stellenbosch. And We're fortunate today that the current winemaker Dirk Coetzee was mentored by Francois Nadia and has maintained that level of quality, level of innovation, and absolute passion for pinotage.
Wow, that's interesting. Besides Pinotage, you also have a famous Chenin Blanc block. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Lavinia focuses on Pinotage and Chenin Blanc, which are quintessentially the varietals that South Africa are known for. And in terms of the Chenin Blanc, it's a registered certified heritage vineyard and part of the Old Vine Project. As you enter Lavinia Estate, there is an amazing vineyard that is 48 years old today. That we call the old lady. She's a Chenin Blanc vineyard. She produces the most amazing grapes, and they have now what's the word? They've now isolated the genetic plant material of this vineyard in order to propagate the clone and eventually make it available in 5 years' time in 2025 so that this same clone can be replanted. And we're very, very excited about that. The old lady's a legend on the estate. She produces the most delicious Chenins. We make a Chenin that is a really classic style. She's harvested in two different portions, one which is harvested earlier and one which is harvested later, in order to get that balance and finesse that we want in our Chenins. In terms of South African Chenin's development, I think the industry has matured and developed in terms of the style of Chenin that it's producing. We're producing Chenins now that showcase finesse, that showcase complexity, and that really age well. And these dimensions are the dimensions that Dirk works on in terms of our single block Chenin, to produce a wine that is absolutely well. Awards that we're very proud of the single block Chenin is this wine won the Diamond Trophy at the Sakura Wine Awards in Japan, which essentially means that it's the top Chenin Blanc from South Africa in Japan. And for us, that's a huge compliment. We know that the Japanese wine market is a very sophisticated one, and that Japanese in general love delicacy and sort of they like the finer things in life, and they're very sophisticated in the way that they appreciate wine. And for our Chenin to be rated as the top Chenin in such a market is an absolute wonderful accolade for us.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. Can I go back to what you said about the Loire Valley, which is interesting because, if France is more known for Bordeaux and Burgundy and, the Champagne areas, and the Loire Valley is really known for its chateaus and being the breadbasket of France. So you personally, when you and Dirk were there, what did you actually, what did you take away from the Loire Valley that you brought back to South Africa?
Oh, it's an absolutely fascinating region. I what we took home, I'll sort of split it up into different categories. The first part is they've got a really progressive approach towards biodynamic wine production, and I think that's something that South Africa can bring back home and ask ourselves why such a very small percentage of South African vineyards are organic or biodynamic, while a region like the Loire Valley has certain appellations within it that are completely biodynamic. And that's certainly one thing that we brought home. And at Lavinia, we're working closely with experts in terms of organic production and seeing how we can make this estate sustainable, how we can practice organic practices at the estate, and how we can essentially live up to the name The Future in order to keep our soils healthy, keep our vines healthy, and produce wines that are natural and hopefully one day organic or biodynamic. The Loire Valley is very, very different to South Africa. I think in South Africa we've got ample sunlight. We know that our grapes are going to ripen, and our challenge is to pick Chenin Blanc at the right ripeness levels. Well, in the Loire Valley, you don't necessarily reach those ripeness levels because their climate is different. they've got rain, they've got limits in terms of ripening their grapes, and they've also got very, very different styles. In the Loire Valley, they produce a lot of sparkling Chenin Blanc, which is still a very small category in South Africa, but they also produce lots of sweet wines and semi-sweet wines. While South African Chenins are mostly dry. It's a fascinating region. If there's one region where we can learn from and they can learn from us in terms of a different approach, diversities of styles, it's the Loire Valley. And you see that with the Chenin Blanc Association, how they are closely working with Loire producers and finding mutual benefits in terms of raising the profile of Chenin. And then the other variety that the Loire Valley is known for is very close to my heart. It's Cabernet Franc. And I think that the variety also has a very big future in South Africa and globally.
Well, interesting. You know, the fact that you mentioned also biodiversity and organic wine growing. I think, and this is something I want to ask you because the name is apt. You know, the future, and the future of wine is in the hand of millennials, and you know, it's a different market. So, do you think, you know, what is your take on that? Are these things important to the millennial market?
Yeah, I think even the current situation that we're in is it's a very interesting learning opportunity for the wine industry. And the way that wine is being sold is changing at a rapid pace, and the way that it is being presented is changing. We often use the phrase at Lavinier that authenticity is the new luxury. And millennials love authenticity in terms of stories. A story behind a vineyard. I told the story of the old lady, the Chenin Blanc vineyard earlier. That's more interesting, that bottle with the serious price tag. Um, the luxury approach to wine is changing with millennials, and it's all about authenticity. It's about telling the story. It's about being true to who you are and what you're trying to present. And there are values at play, and there are associations at play, and most importantly, as I mentioned, characters and stories that become more and more important to the millennial market. Um, and you have to be open and accessible and be able to listen and be able to respond to this market, which makes it very interesting, but we also see it as a massive opportunity. Um, in terms of our demographics that we sell to, there is a large proportion of people that really appreciate Lavinier wines that are from this millennial grouping, and it's important to engage with them and understand what they want, and that's something that we actively do not only in the Citadel when it was still operating, but also in the trade and wherever possible. It's also Lavinier is a pioneer of premium Provence style rosés in South Africa. And if you look at wine festivals and especially millennials in South Africa, rosé is a growing category. And if it's something that you're known for, like in Lavinier's case, you have an advantage. And if you look at our Glen Rosé, which is a high-end rosé, it's limited, it's from a single vineyard, and it has a wonderful story and unique packaging. And it's a wine that is when it was started in 2015, it was strange. Why would you do a high-end rosé? I mean, rosé is rosé. At that stage, most of it was still sweet. But now the Glen Rosé gets sold out in a couple of months every year. Most of it is sold from the farm, and it has a really fantastic following. And it's that kind of engagement that we want, and that we see as an advantage in terms of the millennial market.
That's awesome. I mean, you mentioned authenticity, and you know, what in terms of any other things you can highlight about Lavinier's and Dirk Coetzee's wine philosophy and winemaking philosophy?
So Dirk's main passion in life is most certainly pinotage. He loves this varietal, and he loves it for different reasons. One of the things that he really tries to showcase at Lavanier is Pinotage's versatility. If you think Pinotage, you immediately think of a dry, full-bodied, big red wine. Well, Dirk's approach is that it can be showcased as a premium rosé. It can be shown as an unwooded red. It can be showed as a more feminine style, like the Provenance Chenin, but it can also be a big and full wine that is well structured and can keep for years and decades, like the single block Pinotage. So Dirk's big passion is to showcase the versatility of this varietal and to show it in new ways, to show that the way that Pinotage is being approached is new. We're planting it on new sites. Lavanier, we've got trellised vines, we've got bush vines, we've got different angles, we've got different slopes, and we're trying to bring that diversity and to showcase the versatility of this variety. And Dirk grew up in Hoekville, which is very close to the Knysna Forest. He loves nature, and we spoke about organic and sustainable production of wine. That's also something that lies very close to Dirk's heart and is definitely part of his philosophy in terms of Lavanier. We also have a Pebbles after school care facility at the estate in terms of the future of the next generation of people that live on the estate, where we give children the opportunity to achieve academically, but also achieve in other spheres of life. We've started the Lavanier Sports Development Academy, where the kids at the Pebbles After School Care Facility also benefit from profession, where people are given a Chenin Blanc and Pinotage experience that is second to none. We have all the vintages that are available. We've got a cheese and wine pairing. We've got charcuterie and wine pairing. We've got very, very authentic cheese and charcuterie platters at the estate. And then we also have the added benefits of French wines from the Advini group that are available from the estate. Obviously, during the Corona lockdown, this isn't possible, but it is part of the it's a big part of Lavanier's soul and the way that we operate. We love welcoming people at the estate, and we certainly can't wait that we for the opportunity that we can do that again.
Well, I've heard that you guys have the best live music or the best music at your tasting and sales facility. What is the story there? Is this live? Is this just, do you have a good DJ? How did you get that reputation?
I think it's a bit of a combination. One is about senses, and you have to have the right music. And our Celador and experience manager Ryan Breedenkamp feels very strongly about the music that is played at Lavanier. But also occasionally we have live gigs where we have a variety of music on offer. And the focus is always on the wine of the estate. But if you have the ambiance and the background music and just the entire experience of this beautiful tranquil setting, the wine also comes to its own.
Well, that sounds awesome. Now, you mentioned the coronavirus and our current situation. So, this has forced all of us to rethink our business models. So, do you guys have any changes in mind or new ideas?
One of the things that is clear from all the research that is being done in terms of the commercial aspect of coronavirus is that your brand equity will show in terms of how quickly the brand recovers after the coronavirus. And I think in that sense, Lavanier has done very, very well. We've done well in terms of the direct sales, and now that the market has started to open up again, we've been absolutely humbled by the requests and orders that we've received, and support from loyal supporters of Lavanier in general, globally. And this has been absolutely wonderful to see that we were able to put it through and still maintain good rates of sales through this loyalty for the brand that was built up over the past 30 years.
So things like social media and that type of stuff, how important is that, do you think that's going to be for the future of the wine industry?
Well, I've constantly mentioned engaging with your consumer and understanding your consumer, but also sharing your heart and soul with the consumer. That aspect of authenticity is incredibly important. And that also reflects in our social media approach. Um, we regularly give Dirk an opportunity to show what he's doing in the vineyards. To give the people of we give the people of Lavinia a voice through social media, and we get a glimpse into the life of people at Lavinia, the production side as well as in the market, and also support our colleagues in the industry. During this lockdown, restaurants and hotels that supported Lavinia over the decades were closed. And as soon as we were able to support these restaurants again, we absolutely did that by ordering them their food, enjoying them safely at Lavinia Estate, and pairing them with our wines as a team from Lavinia. So it's about relationships, it's about engaging with your customer, it's about authenticity, and it's about being true to your philosophy and being true to what you represent as a brand and as a winery.
Well, you've summed it up nicely, which almost makes my next question mute, but I'll ask it anyway. What is the most important thing you've learned from your wine journey?
We're an industry that is social. We're an industry that engages. We're an industry that sells a product that people enjoy. And enjoyment is so important. As long as you enjoy engaging with wine and engaging with people, um, the successes will follow because people feel that positivity, people feel that energy, and they associate with that. And if you've got a passion for quality, you live your philosophy in terms of what you want to achieve with your wines, then you will be successful. And I've mentioned it a lot during this whole discussion, but if there's one wine quote that really rings true in the approach that we have at Lavinia, it is that authenticity is the new luxury. You need to be true. You need to have a product that cannot be replicated, and that's where authenticity of something like a single vineyard range comes into play. And you need to be pioneering, push the boundaries, showcase that versatility of pinotage in Lavinia's case. Be a pioneer of premium pinotage rosé. Why not? And we've got a few other very exciting projects in the cellar at the moment. Um, Never stop dreaming. Push that envelope and make the ability to reinvent yourself part of how you continually achieve success. That is part of sustainability, essentially.
That's awesome. So I've heard Lisa from Lisa Loves Wines whispered in my ear that you guys are doing a Biggest Beautiful campaign on your MCC and Pinotage Magnum bottles. So can you tell us a little bit more about these wines?
Yeah, well, gaan groot of gaan huis toe, né? I'm a massive fan of Magnums. I think the way that wines mature in Magnums is just incredible. And we've seen a gradual growth in the interest in Magnums. And especially on special occasions. Father's Day is coming up. And when restaurants were still operating during Father's Day, we had a special where wines by the glass, in terms of our provenance pinotage, was poured out of the Magnum. And it just feels different. It feels grand. It feels impressive. And with the mature, the different way that wines mature in Magnum, I think it's just an awesome way to sell wine and a category that is growing. And we're very glad to be part of this initiative to showcase Magnums.
That's awesome. I hear that it's a big growing trend in Europe as well, to to take magnums to parties, and the magnum sales there is becoming very fashionable.
Yeah, not only in consumption at home, but also at restaurants. Magnums are different. As I said earlier, they're grand, they're impressive, and it immediately makes a big impression if you're serving a wine out of a big bottle. And in a way, it's also something that's associated with parties and celebrations.
So what you're telling me is it's also going to make great Instagram shots.
Yeah, absolutely. True that.
So, if people want to get hold of you, how do they get hold of you guys?
Well, you mentioned it. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and if they want to contact us directly, it's easy to email Ryan, and you can email him at info@lavinier.co.za.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll put all the links down in the description. And then all that's left for me is to tell you to keep your head up while the lockdown is going on. And thank you very much for spending the time with us. And it seems like you guys have your finger on the pulse of the future.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, and cheers to the future of South African wine.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Just a quick reminder that you can get that 1.5-liter Magnum discount. So hurry, get in touch with Lisa. She's at Lisa Loves Wines, and we have the link in the description.